which life experience is a lot worse than most people think it is. Living in a war. People are very alienated from the sense of total chaos around them, and I hope they never experience it. It's a lot less dramatic and more dramatic at the same time than the news portrays it. Life around you becomes dull. People walk around without a purpose, their energy and life drained by the constant perpetuating fear of not living to see the next day. Military around you 24/7. My friends back home can now identify what type and model of a bomb depending on the sound and level of shockwave. War changes people, and never in a good way. Going through an incurable disease, yeah, you become stronger as a person and some of your humor is fucked up. But I would rather be healthy. Someone's suicide, the emotions are far more complex than just mourning the loss of someone. Especially when they hide it very well, you think over conversations and begin to suspect people or start to build up self-hatred that you could have done something. My brother went through this with a school friend. He was very different afterwards. Yeah, guilt is a big one. The one that shocked me most was anger. I felt enormous compassion for their illness. Always do have a lot of time for people suffering with mental health. But thrown into the mix after suicide was anger, and lots of it. Leaving a toxic abusive relationship. Most people say it's hard, it's scary, and difficult, but some people don't understand that leaving those relationships, you start all the way in the beginning again. You are basically just beat up dust by the time you leave relationships like them. You got lost in an abusive relationship. People spend years rebuilding who they are, their strength, and trust with people. It took me around 5 to 6 months just to become functional again from a 1-year relationship of severe manipulation and gaslighting. This isn't even mentioning people who might have kids and were married. They'd have to find a new job, new place to live, maybe even change identities, and rebuild their whole life because of one person they thought could change and be good to them. It completely destroys you, and I don't think enough people take it seriously. You also don't need to be physically beaten or told harsh insults to be considered in an abusive relationship. Sometimes they're so subtle, you spend years in them and not even realize. It's one of the hardest for me. When you end up broken and the other person just leaves and forgets about you as if you never mattered, but you're severely damaged from the relationship and now even more hurt at the fact that you didn't even mean anything. It fucks you up big time. So please, to anyone who hears about someone going through it, even if it seemed like a long while to you, just understand they're going through something completely else than a normal breakup. Completely agree. Was with my ex-husband for 9 years. So hard to leave, and having your police officer sister guard your house while you get your passport and birth certificate sucks. I had no money, my job contract was nearly up, wouldn't get renewed because I had to miss a lot of work because of leaving him. And this doesn't include the emotional stuff, which was crippling. It's nearly 7 years on and I still have issues from it. Chronic pain. It's very heavy mentally. I had horrible sciatic pain for 1.5 years before I could afford the disc surgery. People don't realize just how all-encompassing a constant pain is. It was always there. I could even tell while I was asleep. Couldn't do things like get immersed in a movie or book, 'cause the pain was always there to bring me back. Literal hell. When your parents don't care about you. I mean, there are abusive parents that treat you like shit and do bad things to you, but parents who just let you do anything, and not rewarding nor punishing you in any way are also bad. If you care and try to impress them, you'll realize that all they can give you is, cool, and that can lead to a lot of mental problems. But if you are the opposite and do bad things because you lack guidance in life, you pretty much will destroy yourself. Either way, this is bad. Sometimes in your teens your friends might be like, your parents are so chill, they don't have a problem with you doing this and that. I wish I had parents like that. But in reality you would love to have at least a little bit of love and care, which you never had. This is so true. I remember longing to get grounded in high school. I would act out so terribly, not listen to the house rules, in hope of a response, but nobody was ever bothered. Having a parent with dementia. She didn't recognize her son this week, her brother last month. I dread the day where she no longer recognizes me. My father has schizophrenia and it's really fucked up. I see him getting arrested because something he can't control, and it's really shitty that his medication takes all his money and knowledge. Sometimes he even forgot I'm his son. Poverty. Absolutely. It was one of the hardest experiences I've ever had, and I'm only just realizing the full scope of what we went through now that we're on the other side of it. Depression. It's given this romanticized view of dark humor and suicide jokes. People make it their fucking personality. But it's not a personality, it's something that kills your personality. Something that removes anything you had, be that hobbies, work ethics, and general happiness, until you're nothing but a shell that destroys your own bridges and never lets you forget it. And you won't admit it, you'll never admit it, because admitting it means you have it, and as long as you don't admit it, everything will be fine. It's not a quirk, it's a murderer. Having any sort of chronic bowel issue disease. Oh sure, it sounds whatever. Oh, you just poop a lot, right? Nah, son, I hope you're ready for gut cramping, painful gas, dehydration from shitting your guts out because you had the audacity to so much as look at a trigger food, increased chance of hemorrhoids, shitting blood from irritation of your insides, so much wasted time sitting doing fuck all and the going to and from the bathroom, circulatory fuckery from sitting and having your legs go numb, skin cracking and subsequent skin infections caused by overwashing your hands, not to mention the social ramifications of being that guy who's always in the bathroom. Not to mention how much your gut affects your mental health, even without taking the physical symptoms into account. Most people don't understand how closely linked they are. Anxiety and panic attacks. Anxiety is not a cute character trait. It's fucking awful when you're jolted awake in the middle of the night, freaking out that you're dying or someone you care about is dying, or when people say trivial things, almost gave them a panic attack, to describe general concern or worry, and not like hyperventilating and literally hiding under furniture and enclosed spaces. The chest pain. Another fun game of is it anxiety or is it a heart attack this time, because the symptoms are so similar. Being lonely. It's not cool. Just remember that being alone is not the same as feeling lonely. Losing a pet. No, it's not. Just a cat, get another one. It's the loss of my best friend, my soulmate, and my fur baby at the same time. Shows some respect. This is a heartbreak and a grief just like any other. I absolutely agree. I lost my childhood dog almost a decade ago. Not a day goes by that I don't think of him. Losing him was one of the most emotionally devastating things to have ever happened to me. Any addiction. I was gamble addict, and the worst part for me was not to see my money going away, but to see the disappointment in my family face when they discovered my addiction. The tricky part of this addiction is when you win money, you don't feel ashamed gambling. I'm always shocked by the number of people who think skunk spray is not a big deal. Probably only smelled it in the distance. This kid I knew fucked with a skunk and it sprayed him. His chest was a mass of blisters. Being a truck driver for an oil company. Former neighbor of mine was a long-haul trucker. At the time, 10 years ago, North Dakota's Bakken oil basin was going through a huge oil boom. Guys were making insane money for only working a few months. If you could survive the winter, you and your family were basically good for the whole year. So my neighbor decides to give it a shot. First week, he started getting dizzy spells. He demanded a mask to protect him from the fumes. But it didn't. What he didn't know, and what oil companies didn't even understand at the time, is that hydrocarbon vapors coming off the oil are so dense that they displace the oxygen in the air, even if you're outside. My neighbor was standing downwind of these vapors for 12 hours a day. He suffered a cardiac arrest on site and died. He was 59 years old. Being unemployed. And not being able to get unemployment help either. Psychosis, schizophrenia. Telly doesn't warn you about just how fucking terrifying it is to see, hear, and experience hallucinations. I was 22 and curled up on my mom's lap, only watching Disney films 'cause everything else was just too dark and scary. I believed, straight up knew even, that my sausage and mash was made from dead family members, but I had to try to eat it 'cause I hadn't eaten in like a week. Being unable to get a job right after graduating college. You spend all that money, you graduate with a high GPA, and you go out there interview after interview and come away with nothing. It's so defeating and draining, and you feel like a drain on people you feel you should be taking care of 'cause they didn't go to college. You're the first one to graduate college, so you should be rolling in the bucks, and instead you're still living at home with nothing while talking heads on the news call you lazy. Trying to revive a loved one, doing CPR, giving everything, and failing. I'm sure people think, no man, I'm sure that's pretty fucking bad. I did. But you can't. No movie, book, story, or retelling prepares you. The nightmares. The doubt. It's in every sense of the word, haunting. Homelessness. It feels like the fabric of society was trimmed around you. You don't exist to people, it's like you aren't a human being anymore. The only people who talk to you are other homeless people and predatory dealers looking for another mark. It's been nearly 5 years since I was last out on the streets, and it still affects my life, my mental state, and my self-worth. Which life experience is a lot worse than most people think it is? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.